Welcome to the Loose and Groovy National League preview video. I will include timestamps down below for each division and each team, so feel free to jump around and listen to what you want to listen to and enjoy the episode. We are moving on to the National League as we preview the 2025 MLB season, which is now officially underway. I think it was Tuesday and Wednesday. We had our first two games played of the MLB season between the Cubs and the Dodgers out in Tokyo. Not sure if you guys got up for those games. I know for me and Parker, I think first pitch was like 6 a.m. both mornings for Eastern time. So I think I caught the second half of both the games. I was up probably around 7 or 8 o'clock, but it was fun. It was fun to watch just baseball again, pro level, competitive games. Like it was very enjoyable and fun to see kind of two exciting teams as we head into the 2025 season, both for different reasons. But yeah, we do have official baseball kicking off in less than a week this upcoming Thursday. This will probably be out some point over the weekend. So we're definitely a few days away now from the actual start of the season and all 30 teams getting into some action. So very exciting times, especially for us as we kind of started this podcast towards the end of the season last year, and most of the timeline of it has been during the off season. So I'm really excited to have loose and groovy baseball throughout the actual full MLB season, and I'm sure Parker is too. Parker, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Unfortunately, I did not have the same dedication you did to the Tokyo games. In my mind, the season really starts Thursday, which I think in most people's mind it does.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm just super excited to finally have meaningful games. I know these spring training games are meaningful, but it just doesn't not feel the same. I think you can agree with that.
Absolutely. I think at the start of the spring training, it's kind of fun, especially to watch some prospects get some
Mhm.
action and see them in like, your team's uniform and everything. But now that guys are getting optioned down and sent to minor league camps, it's kind of like I think everybody's, like you said, ready for some real baseball. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into today's episode. As you guys know, if you tuned in last week to the American League video, it was pretty long. We're gonna try and keep it a little more condensed today, not as deep dive into the
Yeah.
teams. We just don't really have the time to do that. So we'll try and be a little more brief with the teams, but still give you pretty good coverage of where they are at heading into the season and
Mhm.
where we think they're going to end up. So to kick us off right away, we're going to get into the NL East. This is a very, very fascinating division that's going to be run probably by the top three this year, being the Braves, Phillies, and the Mets. So starting off with our record, going off of the records from last year, we're going to kick it off with the Phillies. So the Phillies, I think the narrative kind of going into this season is this is the last year that with this core that they have a shot to win it. I'm talking about, Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Bohm, a lot of pieces here that have been here for a couple of years now, but they just haven't been able to really get it done. And in terms of get it done, mean win a World Series because they've been a very competitive team and a pretty good playoff team for the past couple of
Mhm.
seasons. Um, I so I'll just start off. I have them finishing second with 96 wins.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So up top to bottom, the team is super complete, super good, super full. This is one of those teams that's hard to punch a hole into anything. Um,
Mhm.
and I think one of their strongest points is the rotation with the addition of Jesus Luzardo now too, in that trade with Miami. Um, having they're having Luzardo be the two. I don't really think that's how it's going to work out, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, but normally it's probably like Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, Lazardo is probably what I'm thinking. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's either way, it's those five guys as of right now. And not even just thinking about the regular season, but thinking about the postseason, that is going to be a very formidable rotation to go up against in like a 7 game series. We know Wheeler's postseason pedigree as well. Nola's been solid for so long. Christopher Sanchez kind of is coming out as a breakout star last year, and we know Ranger Suarez can have some really good stretches of baseball too. So the rotation looks great. The bullpen is still really good, even after losing Estevez last year, who was a trade deadline acquisition. They did pick up Jordan Romano this year. That was kind of the one big name they got. If they get 20, I forgot what year it was. There's one year he was pretty solid with Toronto. If they get that Romano, it'll be a pretty good deal for them. But even last year, actually, what was his numbers last year? It was, yeah, he only pitched 13 innings at a 6.59. I'm assuming he was hurt. So we'll see what kind of Romano they get. But Orion Kirkring, Alvarado, Strom, Tanner Banks, Taiwan Walker's still hanging around here, but the rotation, I mean, the bullpen is still very solid and very strong, I feel like. And to complement the bullpen with a really good offense and a really good rotation, I think the Phillies are going to be another really good team this year, one of the front runners in the NL. Obviously, I said I'm having them second, so we'll get to the team later that I have beating them in this division, but still, I have them at 96 wins and sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's crazy that with how good the National League is, 96 wins sneaks in.
Yeah, right.
And I will say I took in terms of wins, it's so tough. I took more of a conservative route, so my wins might seem less. Because I do have the Phillies finishing first, but they only have 91 wins in my mind. Just because again, how good these divisions are, it's hard to
Yeah.
kind of stack a bunch of wins. Um, and I just it's kind of like the same thing you were saying, just a little amplified. This lineup, I think, is so good. My main worry is just the aging, like between Castellanos, Real Muto. Bryce Harper's not really showing any age. Schwarber, he's also not showing too much age. Like these guys are still producing. And kind of like the same thing I usually say until they prove to me that they can't produce. Um, I shouldn't really think otherwise. And I look at like every area of this lineup and like every bat, I think 1 through 9 can be a good offensive player. Like I guess the only one where it's kind of like a question mark would be like Bryson Stott. And you even like go back like a couple of years ago and he had a 4.3 WAR with like a 103 OPS plus, great defense. So just everywhere top to bottom in this lineup I like a lot. And then like you said, this rotation, I think in the National League, I think other than the Dodgers, I think this could be the best rotation. Last year it was amazing. I do like the pickup of Jesus Luzardo too. I agree with you. I think he's the four, honestly, most likely the five. I think Steven Suarez would beat him out, but like as a five, that's still very good.
Yeah.
Um, and then like you look at this bullpen that was amazing last year, and I know they lost. I don't know if you mentioned, but Estevez and Hoffman, but
Hoffman, I didn't, but yeah.
like picking back up like Romano, and then you still got so many guys in there that I like Alvarado, Strom, um, just Tanner Banks is a good lefty arm. I like them a lot. So, um, White Sox shout right there. Tanner
I know. I
Banks
was
is
going
like,
to say Tanner Banks, White Sox legend, got traded at the deadline.
dude,
Was
I think he's
someone
pretty
valuable.
good, especially his lefty arm. So
Yeah.
overall, this team, top to bottom, I like them a lot. And it was really a toss up between the top two, which I'll get into the next one. The Atlanta Braves, I have 89 wins. This is a great team, and I think I kind of know where you're gonna start. So I won't get it too much into it, but
Okay.
and I totally get it, where so much of this team took a step back last year that now this year, like everything would have to go wrong like it did last year. And last year, everything seemed to go wrong, and they still had 89 wins. So that's kind of where I understand what you're saying. But
Yeah.
I think on pitching, everything kind of went right, which balances it. Like Sale went obviously right, like
Mm,
better than you would have ever imagined. Ronaldo Lopez went better than you imagined.
yeah.
Schwellenbach, but I do think he's just a good player. Um, the lineup, I like the lineup a lot. 1 through 4 National League. This is like top one, top two, top three this year. Between Profar, Riley, Olson, Ozuna, and then like later on in the lineup, well, he might be betting higher, but Ozzy Albies, Michael Harris, I think he'll have a bounce back this year. So I like this a lot. Compared to the Phillies, who I said I don't think their offense has any holes. I think Orlando Arcia and Kelenic could be a hole, and then
Yeah.
at catcher, right now it's kind of between well, Sean Murphy, I think he's still like kind of recovering. And then Drake Baldwin, who I've seen a lot of people are super high on him. So I haven't really looked at his numbers. But yeah, overall the lineup's still super, super solid. And then pitching wise, Chris Sale, Lopez, Schwellenbach, kind of like I mentioned, and then Grant Holmes and AJ Smith-Shawver. I do like that a lot. Not as much as the Phillies, but I still think like I kind of think there's a little bit too much of a what if with like Chris Sale. Can he do what he did last year, especially going in his age 36 season? Can Ronaldo Lopez replicate what he had last year? Because he was just insane. And his underlying numbers didn't back it up completely, but like he still is supposed to be a good pitcher this year. And then Schwellenbach, I think he's gonna continue to take a step. And then their last two, I'm totally fine with that. It's 4 and 5. And then looking at their bullpen, I like their bullpen too. I mean, a lot of these guys I don't know, but like a couple of names like Hector Neris, Rafael Iglesias. I mean, they got some names, and then they got other guys that produced last year, and that they seem like they're going to continue to produce this year. So, um, I think this is still going to be a super, super solid team, and I do have them sneaking into the playoffs. So,
Yeah, so I have them at 98 wins, finishing first. I think we're both on the same page though that it is like kind of a two-horse race here, and it's like I think it'll come down to the wire here as who wins the East, which is kind of what we've seen from the last couple of years from these two teams, I feel like. Um, I do like your point about the rotation going as good as it could. I think that's something that's not mentioned a lot. I think my pushback on that would be Spencer Strider's coming back, and
yeah, I
that
just
might
totally forgot.
kind
Yeah,
of balance out whatever
right.
setback you might see.
Hmm.
Is Reynaldo Lopez going to have a 1.99 ERA again? Probably not. But yeah, there's a lot of other guys here that I think you said that I like too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just the lineup is like amazing. But and Orlando Arcia is probably like the one gaping hole where like the bat is pretty much just unvaluable. I'm not sure. Did in 2023 was he anywhere near solid? Okay,
Garcia, no.
he had 100 WRC plus, so average hitter. So
What year?
2023.
Oh, okay. I think I meant last year.
Yeah, no, last year was
Oh,
a
yeah,
seventy-two WRC
wasn't he an
plus.
all-star?
In 23?
In 2023, RC was an all-star, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 99 OPS plus on Baseball Reference, 17 home runs, 65 RBIs with a 1.7 WAR, but I think he was a lot better in the first half.
Yeah,
So this isn't like
that's
a thing.
crazy. Huh. So anyway, my point would be maybe you hope he kind of comes back to like an average hitter and then the defense is good. So
Hmm.
that's fine. Um, Jurickson Profar, I think, is a pretty good pickup. You're hoping you see what you saw last year and not the other 10 years of Jurickson Profar. Um, I mean, I'm not wrong.
No, you're completely right.
Um, but going off of what you said, I think I like everything that went wrong last year could have gone wrong, whether it was with injuries or lack of production with guys. And even like you said, even though it seemed like everything was going wrong, they were still an 89 win team. So I feel like even if they come back to like a median point, I think they won like over 100 games in 2023. I want to say it was like 104. I just don't see why that is not possible again here. It's like the same kind of core guys, and you add Chris Sale to that too. And
Mhm.
even if he isn't NL Cy Young Chris Sale, I still believe he could be mid threes guy
Yeah.
maybe at the very
At the
least.
worst, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. And the bullpen, Raisel Iglesias is still really good. So one of the better closers, I would say, in the league. Aaron Bummer's a really good lefty arm here. They did add Hector Neris, which is kind of funny. We'll see if he gets a roster invite.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, with the catcher situation, I didn't know Sean Murphy cracked a rib. We'll see. I haven't looked into like what that
It
looks like.
it's supposed to be like 4 weeks. It's not going to be that
Okay.
long.
So I would definitely still rather have Sean Murphy than Drake Baldwin, just because Drake Baldwin, I looked it up. He has an 807 OPS in like two full years in the minors. Last year
Mm.
he had a 793 OPS with 16 home runs, and that was across double and triple A.
Okay.
It looks like it was pretty split, but he spent most of his time in triple A. So just baseball has him as the number 17th ranked prospect, I think is what it was. So
Way
he's
high.
pretty touted as one of the better catching prospects. We'll see if I'm sure he'll get brought up at some point this year.
Yeah. As a backup, I mean, why
Yeah,
not?
right. Or even if you want to, I know you probably wouldn't give him DH spots over Azuna, but just as a guy to
It,
have up there,
no.
I'm sure rather than Chadwick Tromp, which I don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
The current
I don't
slate of
really
that.
like their bench. Brian De La Cruz could be okay, but
Yeah, that's not a bad get.
the rest of them are not too solid. But
Yeah, but either way, I think the Braves are gonna kind of come back to form here this year, and really have a lot of really key players, and be one of the most talented teams in the NL that could compete with, the Dodgers. So Braves, I have them finishing 98 wins and winning the division. So moving on, we'll get over to our third place team, which is the New York Mets. Obviously, Mets are pretty well known for the very hot stretch they had at the end of last year. I don't know if you think of it, but I kind of think of like the Mets and the Tigers as kind of like on the same, not the same level, but like kind of middle of the pack teams last year, hovering around 500, and then they go on these really hot stretches to end the season
Yeah.
and into the playoffs. I don't know why. I just kind of always clump those two
Mhm.
together from in my head. But so obviously with the Mets, the big deal is Juan Soto, which is incredibly massive. Top five player, top three player, even probably in the MLB, easily, depending on what list you look at. But the addition of him batting right behind Lindor and in front of Alonso is going to be a huge difference maker for this team. I guess the growing narrative with the Mets and mine, I guess, also would be is the pitching staff. And I think you could point to the rotation and the bullpen, probably more the rotation than anything. Um, there's just a lot of question marks here. And going off of like AL video, me, I don't really like question marks and not knowing things. Um, you saw Clay Holmes as the opening day starter. I think we've talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a
Which
good sign.
yeah, I don't know. Clay Holmes, he added the kick change. It looks pretty good. Everything else looks pretty good. It looks like Clay Holmes. It's just the transition from bullpen and closer almost to like setup guy to now being a starter. We'll see how that goes. It looks like I think Manea's hurt right now.
Yeah, I think he's out for a little while.
Yeah, so
He,
strained oblique for Manea, and the other free agent that they got, Frankie Montas, has
yeah.
a strained lat as well, which is also probably going to be a few months. I think that's what Luis Heel has right now, also. They also lose Luis Severino. It's like I don't know. It's tough, especially with Manea out now. That's kind of like an anchor in this rotation, and now it's like, who am I going to hold on to here? Like there's
Yeah.
nobody I
Yeah.
would bet on. It's like Kodai Senga could be good, but like, what have we really seen from him? And then Clay Holmes, we already talked about him. And then it's Canning, McGill, and David Peterson. I don't know. I think McGill was a bullpen guy last year, it looks like. I'm not really sure. He only pitched 83 innings, or maybe he was
He did
hurt,
a little bit of both. I think he started a few games, but
like some
mostly
spot
bullpen.
starts. Okay. And then, yeah, Griffin Canning is from LA, and 106 innings out of 4.6 is not like that's not
Yeah.
something you write home about. And then quickly on to like the bullpen, obviously Edwin Diaz is here, but even like last year, it was 53 innings at a 3.5, and he was coming off of the what did he do at the it was the World Baseball Classic where he was like celebrating and
Yeah. He was that his ACL or his
it
Achilles?
was something with his leg. It was
Yeah.
bad. And I think this was his first full season after that.
Mhm.
And it was still good. And I remember they were working him like a dog in the postseason where he was throwing like 30, 40 pitches, I want to say.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I just like and then AJ Minter they just got. I like that pickup. He could be okay. But then like Ryan Stanek and Reed Garrett, like I don't know. And I do want to say, I was looking at the projected stats for the rotation. I just want to correct that really quick. Canning had a 171 innings at a 5.19 last year, actually. And then McGill pitched 78 innings at a 4.04.
Yeah.
So just so there's no confusion there, I was saying the projected stats, but those were the actual ones that they had last year. Um, so yeah, I don't really have much else to say on the Mets. I have them finishing at 86 wins in third place, missing out on the playoffs too. Um, it's a good team. I didn't really touch much on the offense if you want to go into that a little bit
Mhm.
more. I don't know if Juan Soto is enough to kind of bring this team there.
Yeah. I I also have them hovering around that. I have 85 wins and I have them finishing third and also just missing the playoffs. Kind of looking at their offense. I mean, getting Juan Soto is huge. I think like he's almost guaranteed if he's healthy, a top three, top five MVP candidate. I think a lot of people can agree with that. Like the one, two, three of Lindor, Soto, Alonso. Quick question, like let's say the over under for WAR for those three combined. Let's say like 17. What are you going? Over or under 17?
Over.
Over. So that'd be what would that be like? 7-7-3 for Pete? Kind of
Yeah. I think
short.
Lindor would probably be the leader in that because of the defense.
Yeah.
And then Soto's bat is going to be, I don't know, 5.67, I would say. I don't know if Lindor, I don't even know what his WAR was last season, but are you saying F WAR or B WAR? Because it is kind of different.
Um, I guess B War. B War is usually a little higher. So
Yeah, right. B War, I would say 100%. F War, maybe not. But I think that's well within reach for sure.
yeah. So I mean, just like with that exercise, like three guys that you're pretty confident having over 17 WAR in the top three of your lineup, that's pretty big. And then you even get like Nimmo and Vientos who can produce a lot. I do not like the bottom three, even maybe four. Jesse Winker, he's proven he can be good, but he's really just a platoon bat. He cannot hit at all against lefties. And then Jose Siri, Brett Beatty has not proven anything, even though like year after year, it's like, oh, Brett Beatty, like this is the year, but he's going in his age 25 season, so it's time's kind of ticking for him. And then Luis Torrens is the catcher. I don't like that at all.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's the other thing is Alvarez is out for a little bit at the start of
yeah.
the season. That's huge.
And right now on their bench it says Luis Angel, right?
Yep.
Acuna. Like why does it say Brett Beatty is starting over him? Do you think that's accurate?
I don't know why Brett's playing second.
I would much rather Acuna be starting. I think Acuna's got some.
Yeah, yeah. And the narrative around Beatty right now is nobody really knows where to like put him and even like rank him as like talent wise because he was a top prospect at one point, and then we kind of saw Vientos leapfrogging last year. I didn't know he played second at all though. I think you're
Yeah.
probably right with Acuna being second base, but I can't speak 100% to that.
Yeah, and then also like I like their bench, but I think these guys should be starting like Marte or even like Tyrone Taylor. I think they should be starting over Jose Siri. I think Jose Siri, it's just all power and
He
like literally nothing else.
he struck out
Um,
37% of the time or 38% of the time last year.
yeah,
It's pretty brutal.
yeah. In the rotation and bullpen, I have the same worries as you do. With the rotation, I just think it's so much like middling. Like all these guys are just like a 4 ERA guy.
Yeah.
Like who's that guy you're gonna hang on to? And yes, it could just be Sean Manaea, but he's gonna be hurt for a while in the beginning of the season. I think at least like maybe like a month or 2 months or something. I don't know like the extent
Yeah.
of his injury. I know it's not great. So just like are all these guys gonna throw out like 4.42 ERAs and like you're expecting to win a lot? I don't know. Um just their injuries are hurting between those two, and then even like Christian Scott, I think he's got some he got Tommy John last year, but yeah, I don't even think he's going to be back. So it just it's kind of scary, this rotation. I think they should have done a lot more. And then their bullpen, I love the lefty righty combo between AJ Minter and Diaz. But after that, there is some question marks. Um, I don't know. I I just think there's just so many like average to below average arms that they're kind of relying on that I don't think that's sustainable, especially going against these superpowers and these Phillies and Braves that we talked about. So
Yeah.
85 went third.
I think real quick, just you can put them up against the Braves and the Phillies. They are not as complete of a team as those two teams. I think there's a very clear gap here. And the other thing we didn't really talk about is Vientos going to be as good as he was last year? Kind of
Yeah.
a very surprise, 133 WRC plus. Did strike out quite a bit, but he had 837 OPS.
Yeah.
I forgot if he touched 30 home runs or not, but he was really good at third. And it's hard to say he will do that again. I'm not going to say he isn't or is not, but that is a question mark of it was like this was kind of a surprise last year. Are you going to see that again? So just kind of another thing to think about with the Mets,
Definitely.
which is kind of scary. So
Okay, so next we have the Nationals. And I feel bad doing this. I have them with only 73 wins. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like they're kind of a dark horse in that division. Like they could like sneak into the playoffs. I don't think so. It's kind of like similar to the Athletics to me. Like I am excited for them, and I do think there are much higher aspirations compared to last year, but I still think that it's going to be very hard for them to compete for like even like a first or even like a second or third spot in the division with how
yeah,
good these teams are. But I do love like the outlook of their lineup. Like within the next like 5 years, I think this next year isn't going to be the year where it kind of all clicks, but I think it's going to like start trending in the right direction with like CJ Abrams. I'm excited to see what he brings. Dylan Cruz. I let me see my I may or may not have him in my predictions
dang,
for
we're
the
like identical.
yeah. I'll just say now, yeah, I have him as the rookie of the year, so I think he's going to be super good. He's kind of like and this was like the same draft, and this was a draft where the Tigers passed on both these guys. Him and Langford, I think, are like the same. Like they're both. I know Langford's got a little step up because he played most of last, or he played all last year. But I think both these guys are going to take huge steps forward. And then James Wood, I think James Wood's so good. He's got every tool. He's like 6'7". I think he's going to be great.
Real
And then
quick,
pick,
sorry,
yeah,
the draft, the Tigers, you said they passed up on Cruz. Was that the Max
they
Clark
passed up
pick?
on one of them, I think,
Oh,
for
okay.
Max Clark, right? Was
Yeah, I was trying to remember. Max Clark, I think, is the pick. I just didn't know what the order was and who they
it
passed up
was
on.
that was Skeens year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it was Skeens. It might have been it was either Cruz or Langford too. So the Tigers couldn't get them, and then Clark, and then whatever the other one was
I'll
between
pull it
Cruz.
up right now if you want to keep. You can keep
Yeah,
going.
I believe to my knowledge. And then Luis Garcia Jr., like we talked about him. I think I had him in my second base rankings. Like
Hmm.
he's gonna be good. Paul DeYoung, I mean, can't really get excited. He'll probably hit 20 home runs, have a 80 OPS plus. Um, Keibert Ruiz. I think he has some upside. He's kind of been a disappointment to me. Like he should have been this good guy. And then Jacob Young, he's got good defense, not going to hit much. So just offense, exciting, but not going to be too great. Pitching staff, I don't really know, honestly. They got Josiah Gray out still, who that hurts them a lot. Um, but like Mackenzie Gore, he can take a big step. And then just they got some other names like Mitchell Parker, Trevor Williams that were just like man last year. So not gonna talk about them too much, but relief pitching, it's really just Ryan Finnegan or Kyle Finnegan and then nobody. So their bullpen is absolutely atrocious. Even Kyle Finnegan, like I'm not confident with him closing even. So 73 wins.
I'm right around you. I had 74 actually, so we're at almost identical.
Yeah.
This is pretty interesting to look at. So in 2023 draft, it was Skeens and then Cruz, and then Tigers had third pick. They took Clark, and then it was Langford right after to
Okay.
Texas. Looking at some of the other names, it's kind of fun. Walker Jenkins, he's a top five prospect now. Jacob
Urshela?
Wilson, who we're both pretty high on, he went at six. Rhett Lauder, who I really like for the Reds, he
Mhm.
was at Wake Forest. He went seventh. Dolander's on here in the top 10 and Nobel Meyer as well. So a lot of big names there. But Max Clark is also still a top prospect. So that's not,
Yeah.
I'm
Just
not going to say it's a
so
bad
much
pick.
time to wait with that high school
Yeah.
stuff.
And it was out of high school, right? So that's
Yeah.
the other thing. So, yeah, I share a lot of the same sentiments with you with the Nationals. Um, it's really hard to convince myself that they would finish anywhere above third in this division. It's even tough to say I see a scenario they finish third above the Mets or like whatever other team is there. There's just not enough here. And I would especially point to the pitching. The rotation, I didn't know Josiah Gray had Tommy John in August last year. Like he's not going to see any of this year. And that really hurts, especially when it's Mackenzie Gore and who else kind of. Soroka's a good pickup. We'll see if he can be all right. I don't really know. But yeah, I mean, like CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz, James Wood, that's a really exciting young group to be excited about and watch. Like you said, and Luis Garcia Jr., another just might be kind of a breakout guy and might get some more recognition this year if he kind of keeps up what he did last year. Jacob Young, even in center, is a fun young defensive guy and looking to see if the bat gets any better. And Nathaniel Lowe also at first, he's an above average first baseman and with some good power, but yeah, I just there's not enough for me to write home about here with the Nats. I think they'll be a solid team and they will probably compete to be around 500, maybe even finish a little above it. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish near the 80 win mark, maybe a little higher than that, but I just think the pitching woes are going to catch up to them sooner rather
Yeah.
than later. And that is probably what worries me the most here. So I have them at 74 wins, finishing fourth. And then the unanimous, probably last place team in the East is the Marlins. I mean, I don't really like like, I think everybody knows. I mean, like, not everybody knows the Marlins, but knows what, like, I don't know, like
We can kind of
Xavier
both
Edwards.
we can kind of both do this team.
Yeah.
I,
So
I
I
think
would
this lineup, real quick, sorry. I think this lineup is the worst lineup in the league. This lineup is so bad. Like
we'll take it.
top to bottom with their bench. Like there's not even like one guy I could get excited about. Like Connor Norby, maybe like
I,
Xavier Edwards, maybe.
Yeah, so I would say Xavier Edwards, Connor Norby, Matt Mervis, and Kyle Stowers are names I'm kind of excited to
Look
watch.
out for, yeah.
But still, I agree with you. There's not like lack of like veteran presence and the developed young talent. I think you're right, to be honest. And I'm not even trying to be
Play
like
team, dude. This
biased
is
White Sox. I think the White Sox lineup is better than this.
I 100%. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I mean, Sandy Alcantara's back. That's exciting. Probably going to get moved at the deadline, I would imagine. Max Meyer's another one of their top young arms. I don't think he pitched really at all last year. Yeah, he had 57 innings at a 5.68. He's a guy they're pretty excited about, so hoping to see more development from him and a better season. Can you name a single arm in the bullpen? Like, no, a guy?
Calvin Faucher, I think just because I went to a Tigers game and he carved us up a little bit, but
I
I
think I've heard of Anthony
no.
Bender before, but that's it.
Real quick, we don't really even have to continue with this bullpen because it's so bad, but their pitching, like the guys you named, Cal Quantrill, I'm higher than like even projections are projecting him pretty low.
Yeah.
I like when he was on the Indians, well, not, they were the Indians, sorry, but the Guardians. Like he was kind of a decent arm that kind of like was underrated. And then on their injured, either the 60-day IL or just the injured list,
Yeah.
Edward Cabrera, Braxton Garrett, who's also like I think a decent pitcher, Yuri Perez, and Ryan Weathers, like all four of those guys, if they're healthy, like
Yep.
that's not bad at all.
Mm-mm.
So there is some hope, Marlins fans, because like those between your injured and your like top two in Alcantara and Max Meyer, there is stuff to be excited about pitching wise. Just starting pitching, nothing else. But
Especially Yuri Perez. Yuri Perez, I think, is on track to be one of the top arms in the next couple of years. It
mhm,
sucked to see him go with Tommy John last year, but I think it'll be fun to watch him get back this year. Even Jesus Sanchez, who's kind of one of their better bats. I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. And he's also looks like he's going to be on the injured list to start the season. But again, just another name that you can kind of throw out there.
yeah,
So it does look pretty bleak right now. There is talent here. I mean, some talent. But yeah, I real quick, I just have them finishing with 60 wins. No expectations really for them. Yeah, let the young guys play, let them get some ABs, and we'll see how they do.
yeah. I had 61 wins.
All right, so just recapping the NL East really quick. I have the Braves finishing first with 98 wins, the Phillies at second with 96, the Mets third with 86, the Nats fourth at 74, and the Marlins fifth with 60.
I got Phillies first 91 wins, Braves second with 89, the Mets third with 85, Nationals fourth with 73, and the Marlins fifth with 61 wins.
All right, we're gonna move on to the NL Central next, but before that, a quick break. All right, moving over to the NL Central. First off, we're going to start off with the division winner last year, the Milwaukee Brewers. They were one of the Brewers are a very there's a very good team. I feel like they've kind of given me confidence to where it doesn't matter really what their lineup is to some extent, where it's like they're going to be competitive and they're going to be pretty good. Um, but yeah, I think so. This year I have them finishing second, 88 wins, and I do have them making the playoffs at the 88 win mark. Um, I don't have them winning the division this year. It's so tough because there's a lot you can buy into with this team, and it is hard to say like they won't repeat, but I think another team got just a little better than they did this year. Um, but yeah, just kind of looking through their lineup, Churio, Yelich, Contreras. I mean, those are kind of the big three that get you really excited if you're a Brewers fan. But there's a lot of just guys in here that maybe aren't as well known, but it's still like a really good contributors. Bryce Turang, I feel like is a guy like that. Steals a lot of bases, won a platinum glove last year. The bat isn't great, but if he can get it up to like even an average bat, that would be incredibly valuable for the Brewers because the defense and the stolen bases are going to be there. So looking to see him kind of get up to maybe that like 100 WRC plus range, I think that'd be massive. South Frelick is another guy, very defensive minded. The bat isn't really there either, but again, a guy you're hoping can maybe just average it out so that he can make up for or be on par with that really good defense that he brings. Um, Caleb Durbin is a guy. I think we talked about him when that trade happened for Devin Williams. Bringing well, bringing him in and Nestor Cortez, I think is a very it sucks to lose Williams 100%, but I feel like Williams didn't pitch most of last season, and this team was still pretty good without him. And you could even like say like he was the one that cost them not cost them the series, but like he did let up that home run at the end, the 3-run home run to Pete Alonso, obviously, and
Mhm.
that was their season. That was it. So it is hard to justify like Nestor Cortez and Caleb Durbin for one of the best closers in the league, but the Brewers seemed to do okay without him last year. But Caleb Durbin, I like a lot. He's probably going to play right away this year. I don't know where. I don't really like Oliver Dunn playing third base right now. Ortiz playing short, I'm actually quite a bit a fan of. He's very solid defensively. At least he was at third last year. I don't know what that looks like at shortstop this year with Willie Adames being gone now, but Durbin could slide in maybe in that short or third base role. I don't know much about where he's played in the minor leagues, but I'm sure they can find a way to fit him in because I think he does. I think he is ready to play at the major league level 100%. And then adding Nestor Cortez into this rotation, I think, is really solid too. Um, Peralta, we've kind of talked about him. He's a very solid. He's not an ace, I don't think, but
No.
a 2-3 guy, you would be hard pressed to find much better. Last year, he had 173 innings at a 3.68, just really solid. Nestor Cortez is just another kind of good innings eater here. Maybe not, I mean, he had a 3.7 last year, which is really respectable, and 174 innings as well. So that's just another good arm to add. Quintana, again, that's a more recent signing. We both really like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Another good guy just to add some depth to the rotation. And then after that, it's Savali, Tyler Alexander. I I don't have much on those guys. They should be fine, and we'll cover some innings for them. I'm really hoping Brandon Ridwell can come back and maybe be that ace that they need.
Yeah.
Tobias Myers is also looks like he might start off on the IL, and he's another guy that really solid last year. So rotation concerns with me would just be like maybe in the postseason where you're missing that kind of like that big 1-2 or that big
Yeah.
ace. But for the regular season, the Brewers always seem to do fine with whoever they have, so I'm not too concerned about that. And looking at the bullpen is still so good. Trevor McGill, Jared Koenig, Hudson, Uribe, Peguero. There's just a lot of like names you probably wouldn't recognize in a bunch, but they're all really, really solid. Um, so yeah, the Brewers, they're a pretty similar team as to what they were last year. Excuse me. Sorry. Um, and even I'll talk about some of the prospects. Jacob Mizorowski could be up in the bullpen this season using that 80 grade fastball that's been dominating the minor leagues in spring training. Jefferson Cuero is another top prospect. I think he's top 50, I want to say. Maybe not, getting catcher reps off Contreras, but just a guy to bring up late in the season. Maybe you plug him in at DH a couple of days or give Contreras the day off. He looks like he could be pretty good. And even Craig Yoho, he might be up with that changeup. That could be good enough. And it's like the Devin Williams 2.0 people are saying, kind of just another filthy changeup to add. So there's a lot to buy into with this team. Again, I just think there's one team above them that will be a little better, but I do have them finishing second at 88 wins.
I also have them with, let's see, 88 wins, but I have them finishing first with those 88 wins. I I know we don't talk about defense like that much, and you pointed to this, but I think this team stands out defensively compared to other teams a lot. Just like to name some guys like Churio, Garrett Mitchell plays a solid outfield. Bryce Turang, Joey Ortiz, Sal Frelick, like this team defensively is super, super
And
good.
Blake Perkins, I think he's hurt right now, but him
Yeah,
too.
Blake Perkins, yeah, he's not even back yet, but he's so good too defensively. So, and then like looking at the offensive like outlook, usually I'm so low on the Milwaukee and they don't like go out and get guys. I think the start of this year, even more so than the start of last year, I know they had Adames last year, but like with all the progressions hitting wise, like with Joey Ortiz and like just these guys that are kind of on a solid trend with Yelich coming back healthy to start the year, which it usually isn't too common. I think I'm more confident this year offensively with this team. And then like going into the pitching side,
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm not like. Can you
yeah.
explain why you are?
Well, Yelich, like last year, he was banged up like the whole year. This year, to have him starting out super healthy, William Contreras, for him to like, I wasn't 100% if he was gonna be like this offensive player, and for him to prove it again, kind of gives me a lot more confidence going into this year that he can continue that.
Yeah.
And then just like Joey Ortiz and like I really do think Terang and Frelick are gonna take steps forward offensively.
Mm.
And even if they don't, like you said, if they're like average or even close to average with that defense, I think they can make up for it. So last
Yeah.
year I was super low on them offensively. This year I'm higher. Do I still think their lineup is good? Like, man, I think it's like above average, too good. But like once I get into like the pitching side, like this is another one of those teams like the Guardians, like the Rays, that I think is like a pitching factory. Like you said, no matter who they have out there, like you're kind of confident. And while they don't have that like solid one, I think like with Woodruff coming back soon, hopefully he had a
Yeah.
surgery in like I think October or November of 2023. Um, for him to come back soon would be huge. And like in the playoffs, like you said, if your 1-2 is Woodruff Peralta with that really solid bullpen, I don't know if I'm like that low on that, honestly.
Yeah.
While Woodruff really isn't even a good one. I think he's like a really solid two. Just like I don't know, with all these guys that have come back, Tobias Myers, Aaron Ashby, I don't know when these guys are gonna get back. A lot of like those are both obliques between Ashby and Myers. Um, but yeah, like you said, with Quintana, Alexander, I think that they can get as much out of these guys compared to other teams. So I think like when you look at the past numbers, you can't completely like put all your stock into those with how good the Brewers have proved to like develop these pitchers. So
So
um
Tobias Myers is going to start the season on the IL with that oblique thing. Probably, I don't know, sometime in April, maybe. I don't know May, but I don't know what the timeline is. But he will be on the IL, but he'll be back at some point. That's not something I don't think they're too concerned about.
mhm.
I will say one thing. I think they're gonna miss Adamis's 32 home runs and 100 something RBIs a little more than you're projecting. I understand your point. And again, like I said, there's a lot to buy into with the offense, but I think I think like because the numbers aren't even like the OPSs and the average doesn't really favor Adamas, but I think you're gonna notice 32 home runs and 100 RBIs
Yeah,
more than the numbers. So
I
that
think
would
you're
be
probably right. They like I don't know. Well, you kind of I think another like guy I think is gonna project really well, like Jackson Churio. Um, I don't know. Do you think like with Yelich, like let's say Yelich has a fully healthy season, which that's projecting quite a bit because he usually doesn't. If Yelich has a fully healthy season and we get a full season out of Churio and Contreras, compared to last year with their progressions and having Yelich healthy, do you think that can cover up completely what Adames left, or probably is that still just too much of a gap to fill?
I would say if Yelich was really, really good before he went down the whole year last year. If
Mhm.
you give me a full season of that and even like a portion of what we saw at the end of Churio at the end of the season, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Churio playing a full year at the kind of level he did, or some kind of level he did last year, and plus the Yelich thing, and if Contreras kind of sticks to what he's been
Mhm.
doing, I would say yes.
So I think that's the optimism I'm kind of going into this season. Um, yeah, so 88 wins, winning the division yet again. It seems like they always win the division.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so now getting into the Cardinals who finished second last year. This year, unfortunately, they're not going to finish second. I believe they're going to finish fourth. I still have them 77 wins. I don't have them being this garbage team that a lot of people are kind of projecting. Last year, like you just told me, and it kind of caught me by surprise. They had 83 wins last year, which I didn't even know they were a above 500 ball club. So
Yeah.
that kind of surprised me. This lineup, it's not terrible. I think it's just average. Mason Wynn, super good defense. Will he progress hitting wise? Probably. I think he's a super solid player. Lars Nootbaar has shown that he can hit. Wilson Contreras, he was injured a lot last year, but when he's out there, he's a super solid hitter. Um, Nolan Arenado, whether he wants to be there or not, I still think he's a great defender still, and hitting wise, like he's still like average to above average. And then kind of like getting into the later half of their lineup, Ivan Herrera, Alec Burleson, who's decent, but he's still kind of that platoon guy. Jordan Walker, like, is he gonna show something he has before, but he's also been terrible in the past? And then like Victor Scott. So I don't know. The bottom of their lineup, I'm not too high on, but the top of their lineup's kind of solid. Not too exciting. Their pitching, it's so old. Sonny Gray, I think Sonny Gray is good. I think he's a two. But he's projected to be their one, which there's nobody else that you would project as their one, but I don't think he's really an ace. Eric Fetty, they're not too high on him. I still think he's gonna be super solid, like a durable, like 180 innings guy with like a 3.8, 3.9. So I still think he's gonna be good. They're projecting him at 4.2. And then like the rest of the rotation, Miles Michaelis, um, Andre Palante, Steven Matz. I mean, not very exciting. They can be okay, but not too high on them. And then their bullpen, I do like a lot of their bullpen arms. Ryan Helsley is so nasty.
Mhm.
Jojo Romero is very, very good. I think Liberatore is good. Phil Maton, he's been good in the past. So just I don't know. Their pitching kind of needs to click a lot for them to even reach 500, I think. Um, and yeah, I think these top two teams in the division, and then another team, which I'll say later, I think they're going to be a little, at least a small margin to a decent margin better. So
Yeah, so the Cardinals are a really weird team because it's like I don't really know what to make of them and where they're at right now because there's quite a few pieces in the farm system I like a lot, but at the same time they're like kind of still competing, but like not really. Like I don't think they're gonna. I have them finishing fourth at 76 wins, um, so a step back from last year. It kind of like it's weird because they have a lot of homegrown guys right now. Um, Mason Wynn, I you should take another step forward this year. Contreras, like you said, moving over to first, I think that's great. Giving Ivan Herrera some room to move at catcher and let him go. They really got to let Jordan Walker play. I don't know if you've seen, but like the amount of times they've moved him up and down between AAA and the MLB is pretty brutal. So really hoping they give him a full stretch here because he's got a full year service time under him, but like it's like so chunked up, I think, and just not consistent, which sucks. Um, yeah, there's and like Victor Scott the second, I don't really know what you're gonna get out of him. He's fast and he plays good defense, but the bat, I don't think it's ever gonna be there to be honest with you. And I probably like I don't see him right now. Michael Ciani, I like him more than I like Victor Scott in center right now, to be honest with you. I just don't see him on the bench or the lineup unless they moved him down to like a minor league team. But either way. Yeah, I would say kind of all the same things you were saying. The rotation, I really wish they would get some other guys up, and it's kind of hard to say if they're ready or not. But Hank Kent is a guy I'd like to see in 2025. Quinn Matthews, Tekoa Roby, like these are all names that I feel like they might just need to get up here and pitch for a bit and see what you have with them. It's just kind of getting to the point where it's like the AAA team is going to run into these guys and they're going to get shut down because it's like I don't know, just there's not much left for me to see there. And looking at the other guys in the current rotation, I would say like I'd much rather just see them pitch than a Miles Mikolas. And I mean, I like Andre Plane. I'd rather stick him there. But Steven Matz, like we got to find room for some of these young guys to get up and pitch. Especially if it's late in the season, they're not really competing. I think that is when we will see them. I do like Sonny Gray, and like you said, there's a lot of good arms in the bullpen that I like too. Liberatore, I like a lot. I also like Jojo Romero quite a bit. John King, there's a couple of good arms in here, and I think they're still going to be a pretty competitive team this year. Again, we'll see how it all kind of plays out if they sell off of a Ryan Helsley and what that looks like. Do we see step ups from a Jordan Walker, even a Nolan Gorman? Is Nolan Gorman gonna not strike out all the time and do something else than just hit home runs? There's a lot of interesting storylines to follow with this team. I'm just not really projecting them to turn out in a way where it's like kind of good for them. So fourth place for me at 76 wins. Do you have anything else on them?
I do not.
All
You can
right.
keep going.
So moving on to the third place team last year, surprisingly, the Chicago Cubs. So I have them finishing first this year at 92 wins. I'm pretty high on the Cubs heading into this season. Um, the big move, obviously, is Kyle Tucker, and I do love that for them. And for this season, I think it's going to be very good. To the bullpen, they added Ryan Presley, Brazier, and Caleb Thielbar. Kind of. So Brazier actually was from the Dodgers, and I think he got DFA'd, but he was really good last season. And I remember they were talking about it at the Tokyo series, and they were kind of just saying that is like attributed to how good the Dodgers bullpen is, where there just wasn't room for Ryan Brazier. But now with the Cubs, I think that's going to be really good. Porter Hodge kind of broke out last season and could be their closer this year over Help Presley. We'll see what they do with that. I also really like signing Carson Kelly and Justin Turner. Kelly to help out Miguel Amaya, and
Mhm.
Turner actually didn't have that bad of a season last year, so he's a really good bench bat and maybe can
Yeah.
get, a few spot starts here and there. The one thing I'm really excited about with the Cubs is they have a wealth of talent that is ready to be called up to the show that is really exciting. I'm sure you saw Matt Shaw
Mhm.
made the opening day roster like technically in Tokyo. Um, did you see his stance yet at all? Have you watched it?
I've not. Is it odd?
So his back is like facing the pitcher in like the setup, and
Oh, and his toe is like,
yeah, his toe is also
ugh,
facing like the catcher, I think.
yeah,
And then it's like a
I saw
big
that.
kick and rotate. But
Very awkward.
from what I've read, I don't think it's going to be an issue. We'll see. It's hard to tell. But I think he's just based on number 12 ranked prospect. They're really high on him. Moises Ballesteros. Have you seen this guy?
I've not.
Oh my gosh. So he's an absolute unit behind the dish. He
Mhm.
doesn't really play any good defense behind there, but the bat is incredibly impressive. He had a very good Arizona Fall League, number 80th ranked prospect from Just Baseball. He'll be a bat I think they bring up later in the season. I don't know if they're gonna have him catch or they just might have him DH a couple games or maybe off the bench bat kind of guy. But he's another one where they could bring just a good power source right here because the bat is ready for the pros, I think, from what I've read up on. Another guy, Rule 5 draft guy, Gage Workman, actually coming over from Detroit.
Yeah.
He had 181 WRC plus in spring training so far. He had an 842 OPS with 18 home runs in Double A last season. I mean, he has to stay on the roster if they're going to keep him. That's how the Rule 5 draft works. So if you have him off the bench, I'm actually pretty excited to see him. And I hope he does find a spot on the roster. I think he will. Kevin Alcantara is another name here. He got brought up pretty late last season. And I think he could be ready also to maybe get a few more ABs up here at the bigs. And then Owen Casey is another good one. A really tall outfielder who has some serious power. He had 121 WRC plus in AAA last season with 18 home runs. And then Cade Horton as well. Didn't pitch a lot of last season, but 2023 was his breakout. Fastball slider guy could be really good as well if the rotation needs some help late in the season. So I just think they've done all the right additions for me in my eyes to take the next step in this division and finish first. And the amount of young guys they have that could come up and help, I think is going to be huge. And not even if like they play really well and like they meet to their projections and like immediately show that they can do it at the show, but I don't know, having a lot of these young guys come up and kind of get this experience, I think is just fun. I don't know why, but I feel like that is just kind of good vibes towards the end of the season. Getting some young guys in there, some fresh perspectives, they're really excited to be there. They're giving it their all. Like I think that's really cool. And seeing how many guys they have in AAA with the ETA 2025, that gets me excited. And even looking at their numbers last year, they were 13th in OPS, 6th in starting pitcher ERA, and 12th in relief pitcher ERA. So I think the numbers are there, and I think it's just going to be an improvement on that. I don't see how this team gets worse, to be honest with you. So I have them finishing, yeah, like I said, 92 wins, first place. I didn't dive much into like the starting rotation and
Yeah.
the actual lineup itself if you want to get more into that. But those were just kind of the reasons I'm very high on them.
I'm not as high, but I do have them finishing second, obviously, because I had Milwaukee first, but I have them with 86 wins and just barely sneaking into the playoffs. So I still think this team is like super solid. With their, again, I usually go to like the top of the lineup between Hap, Suzuki, and Cal Tucker. I like that a lot. And you were kind of looking more into like the prospects, which I haven't looked into much. So that could give me even more optimism. But Matt Shaw is supposed to be super good. And like you said, I pointed this out in my Google Doc that I made about this, but Carson Kelly and Justin Tucker as your two kind of bench bats, like if somebody gets injured or if you want to like platoon against a certain guy, because these guys have a ton of at bats in their career, especially Justin Tucker or Turner. He's been around so long. Um, but I love those two. And then like there's some really solid defense in this team between like Swanson and Pete Crow Armstrong. Swanson, like we've talked about this in our rankings, like you know exactly what you're gonna get from him. And then injured Nico Horner, like you know what you're gonna get from him too, with that super solid defense. I'm not sure when he's coming back. I don't think it's gonna be too long.
I think he's going to
Um,
be on the Thursday opening day roster. He didn't go to
okay.
Tokyo, but he should be healthy by opening day, I think.
It says he had flexor tendon surgery 10/24. So that seems pretty recent, but I mean, I guess that's still a little ways back, but this offense is still super good. I don't know how much I like Miguel Amaya and John Birdie as your catcher and starting second baseman, but it doesn't matter if Nico Horner is going to come back in for John Birdie anyways. So
I think John Birdie actually kind of went off in Tokyo. Let me see.
actually,
He had
the speed he's got speed and defense, so he plays
he
each
went
position.
3 for 6 with 2 stolen bases, and he had some good defensive plays too.
Okay, well. So yeah, this offense is still super solid. But just with the Cubs, like you were going through like their numbers, like their rankings in terms of like pitching and hitting and stuff. I just feel like it never matches up to their win total, and that's kind of what worries me. Whereas Milwaukee, like they might ha not have all like the statistics that you want, but like their win total, like they always kind of get it done. So that's kind of the difference between those two. But I still think the Cubs are gonna be super solid. The rotation, I like the rotation a lot. Justin Steele, Shota Imanaga, super good. Matthew Boyd as their four starter, like I'll take that any day. Jameson Taillon he kind of took a step forward last year as like an older guy. So I think he could be a solid like five arm. He's
Yeah.
projected as a two. I don't know how accurate that would be. And is it Callan Ray
Yeah. From
as like a
Milwaukee.
five or like a depth arm? I'm not too mad about that. And then Javier Assad, he's injured as well. I want you want to pull up his numbers real quick?
Yeah.
I feel like he was good. Maybe it was just the first half he was good. Maybe he kind of fell off, but I feel like he's a decent arm. I don't think he had many innings. Um, but just
147 innings at a 3.73. So pretty
yeah, so that's like a solid depth arm when he comes back. So um I like their rotation too, and their bullpen is also super solid. Ryan Presley, that's a great pickup, especially like if they get in the playoffs, like I'm projecting. Like in the playoffs, he is so good. And then just like top to bottom, like Fangraphs has all these guys below a 4 ERA.
yeah.
I think it's going to be super solid. Getting Ryan Brazier from the Dodgers, who didn't really need him because their bullpen's so stacked, to get him is super big. Nate Pearson, I think he's exciting to watch. Even though he can't really control too well, like he's gonna pump like 104. Caleb Thielbar is a lefty. I like that a lot too. So just there's a lot of bright spots on this team.
Hmm.
Um, and if they can match that win total up to like the projected stats and the names that are on paper, they 100% could have 90 wins and win this division. So
Yeah. Two more things. I'm very high on Michael Bush this season. I think this is his year to kind of take that next step. And we kind of saw a little bit of it last year, but I'm really banking on a good breakout season from him and like officially kind of breakout. And one quick question: Do you have? I, so I'm trying to think about it. Do you think there's a better one too in the Central than Imanaga and Steele?
in the Central.
Yeah.
So Peralta and Woodruff when he comes back, that would not be better.
Oh.
Um,
I think
maybe Skeens,
yeah. I think Skeens and
Keller,
Jones maybe.
Skeens
Maybe.
Keller maybe. Or I mean, Jones kind of fell off a little last year. He had like a
Yeah.
low fours ERA, but who else? Like Cardinals, definitely nothing.
Oh. So I don't know. It's kind of knowing that I feel like is also
Yeah,
pretty
that's
that's
that's comforting. Yeah, if
yeah,
you're a Cubs fan.
100%.
Yeah. So Chicago Cubs, 86 wins, finishing second, and now are we? Is it Reds? I believe.
Let's just do the Reds. I don't really know, but you can do or if it's Pirates, you can do Pirates too.
Okay, I'm gonna do the Pirates.
Okay.
Um, so. we just talked about. I'll start with the rotation. Okay, I do like a lot Skeens, Keller, and Jared Jones. Jared Jones is nasty, and he's also injured, so that's not a
Did you
good thing.
see
But
what it was? It's like shoulder inflammation.
is it really?
Yes.
And that was 316. That was
Or
like
elbow discomfort. I'm
elbow
sorry, elbow
discomfort.
discomfort.
That makes like I was gonna
Scary.
with kind of considering him to be on the team all year. Like in my mind, I'm still gonna be not as high as a lot of people are on this rotation. So knowing that and knowing that he'll be out for months, most likely, that's gonna hurt them even more. But like let's say he is there for the last half of the season. I don't know how bad elbow discomfort is not a good sign, but Skeens, Keller, Jones, I love that. After that, there is like nothing. Like
Yeah.
Bailey Falter is terrible. Carmen Majette, I don't know. Bubba Chandler, I am kind of excited about him. He's a prospect that he's super confident if you saw some clips about him.
Yeah.
He's kind of talking about how he's going to take Skeens' starting role for opening day next year. Probably won't happen, but
It's fine.
I like the confidence. Yeah, just after those top three and like even Keller and Jones, like they could still put up like a four ERA season and I would not be surprised. So like I'm not as high as a lot of people are. I know Skeens can kind of propel that rotation to be good, but it's not just a one man show because I mean every fifth day is when he's pitching and those other days you can have to fill in. So I still do like it with those top three, but getting Andrew Heaney is okay. He's gonna probably put up a 4.3, 4.5, whatever. Um, yeah, so just not huge on that. And then their offense, like to supplement Keller and Skeens, they have to do something, and they never prove to get anybody. Um, it's not terrible. I mean, it's not good at all, but like Brian Reynolds, I like him. I think he's underrated. O'Neal Cruz, I think he's super exciting. He's going to strike out a lot, but he's also going to play good defense. Probably have a lot of errors, throwing errors and stuff, but super fast. Just kind of an exciting player to watch. McCutcheon, like he always seems to be like decent. He's probably going to hit like 15 or 20 home runs again this year, like he always does. Joey Bart, I like the steps forward he took. I mean, you want to? I'm gonna give you a bunch of tasks, but you want to look up his stats too last
Okay.
year. Um, his transition from San Francisco as like a top prospect,
Forgot about that.
being like super like underperforming to kind of performing for the Pirates was exciting to see. I
Yeah,
think
708 OPS in how many games? 315 ABs.
how many what OPS?
708.
Okay, so not as good as I thought. So he must have fallen off a little bit. Um, yeah, not nearly as good as I thought.
He's having a
But
pretty good spring training though.
yeah,
14 hits and 35 ABs, 3 home runs, slugging above 700. I know it's small, but that's encouraging.
yeah, but he's also 28. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, not great. But the rest of their lineup, mm, Tanner Falefa, like good defense, but hitting is not good at all. Key Brian Hayes, he's projected to have a 90 WRC plus. I think it's gonna be better than that. I still think he's like a decent player. I wanted the Tigers to go get him. Um, yeah, so just not too much to be excited about. Bullpen, not good. Like, like the only guy that really kind of stands out is Dave Bednar. And like even he struggled mightily last year. He had a ton of blown saves and stuff. So I don't know. I had the Pirates finishing last with 72 wins. And then last year, real quick, losing Luis Ortiz hurt them a lot in the rotation, I think. But getting Spencer Horwitz is huge. Although he did just have a wrist surgery, so he's gonna be out for a while. But Spencer Horwitz is also a super solid hitter that I think he can be their best hitter when he comes back
Yeah,
at some point. So
literally. Yeah, so we're pretty like almost dead accurate with these other teams in the Central. I've them finishing last at 71. Um, I don't have much else to say on top of you. The only thing I'm buying into this team is like the rotation and like the young arms they have coming up, like Bubba Chandler, like you said. Um, yeah, I just like what am I buying into with this offense? Like O'Neal Cruz, I think is the one I would say. And playing him, seeing him in center field this year will be pretty exciting too. I don't know how that's gonna look, moving him off a shortstop, but that
mhm.
could be pretty fun to some extent. But and I think the other guy is Nick Gonzalez, some people are a little bit high on. I don't know much about him and like kind of what he's been up to. Let's see what the projections are. So I'm at a 104 WRC plus with a 740 OPS, which is pretty respectable. So you could see him make a leap this year. Key Brian Hayes is like, I don't know, the bat is just so bad. It's awful. And like Tommy Pham being their biggest hitter they signed, it's like, oh, come on. And I mean like Horwitz, yes, they traded for, but like you said, he's gonna be out for the start of the year. So I just there's not much for me to buy into with this team. Skeens is awesome. So is Jared Jones when he's healthy. Hopefully he's not out the full season. Mitch Keller's good. And it'll be fun to watch Bubba Chandler when he comes up. But that's it. I don't think they're not gonna make any noise in this division, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
No.
we'll move on to our last team here with the Cincinnati Reds. I have them finishing third place with 82 wins. Pretty solid team here. I kind of like what they're doing. Um, they didn't really lose too many guys here, and they added some pretty nice pieces too. Austin Hayes, small little free agent signing. That should be pretty solid. I'm excited to see him play in Cincinnati. Gavin Lux was in the trade with LA, which I forgot what they gave up, but I think it was a draft pick and maybe a prospect. And Jose Trevino, did he see he got extended too?
No, but I don't mind that. Probably
Yeah,
not
no,
very.
he got like a maybe 3 year extension if you want to check on that. But I saw that and I was like, good for Trevino. Um, Yeah, and then looking at the rotation, they did add Brady Singer in the Jonathan India trade. I guess Jonathan India is probably the biggest guy they lost. And then looking at the bullpen, not too much different, adding Taylor Rogers and Scott Barlow to this bullpen.
Three
So,
years, sorry, 3 years, 15 mil. Not bad at all.
yep, good for the guy. Age 32, that's not bad for him. Good for Jose, like I already said. Yeah, so looking at their like rankings from last year, they were 21st in OPS, 16th in starting pitcher ERA, and 18th in relief pitcher ERA. I think we'll see a small uptick in these numbers this year, but I think they're still going to be middle of the road for the most part. I just the offense didn't get noticeably better enough for me to put confidence in it. In the rotation, the injuries are very constant with this team, and the same could be said for the starting lineup last year. It just is very middle of the pack for me. And a lot of people this is a team some people are pretty high on. And I think there's a lot to be excited about, but I just don't see them competing with the top two teams in this division this year. Some guys I want to point out though, they have 3 pitchers in the Just Baseball Top 100 that I think could all pitch this year. Chase Burns, I is it I think it's Chase Petty, not Chase Betty. I think I wrote that wrong. Yeah, Chase Petty. Which by the way, Chase Petty, I saw him pitch against the Dodgers when Rookie Sasaki made his first start. He looks
Hmm.
really good. Like they should bring him up, I think, almost right away, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. But yeah, him, Chase Burns, Chase Petty, and Rhett Lauder, who pitched a little bit of last year. Also, I mentioned him earlier in the 2023 MLB draft out of Wake Forest. I think he's going to be so good. He should start the year on the opening day roster, I think, and have a full season because I just think he's going to be so good and so consistent, to be honest. So, yeah, I think there's a couple of fun stories there, a couple of fun arms, a couple of young, fun hitters, but I have them finishing 82 wins in third place. I don't have much else on them outside of that. Do you have any? I mean, yeah, I'll let you go, but
Yeah. I like this offense honestly a lot. Friedel, McLean, Elliot Cruz, Jamer, like he was bad last year, but like he got that extension, like he's getting paid a decent amount. I think he can go back to what he was. Gavin Lux, Encarnacion Strand, like there is some excitement in this lineup. And then like you also have to look at the guys that are coming back. I don't know if you mentioned these guys, but Tyler Stephenson, the combo between him and Trevino, I like a lot. Spencer Steer is also coming back. I like him a lot. He's like this kind of super utility guy, but he's very, very good. Those guys, I don't know when they'll come back. Steer in February had shoulder discomfort, and then Stevenson, strained oblique like very recently. So not great, but I do like this lineup still a lot. But then yeah, going into the pitching, like their bullpen they have a lot of names that I like the names and the names have been good in the past, but like that's kind of just the past. Like now they're not the guys they used to be. Like Emilio Pagan used to be so good. Brent Suter, like super like funny guy, like kind of weird release. Um, but like I don't think he's gonna be great this year again. Taylor Rogers, the projecting him at a 4.33. I think he's gonna be better than that. But then like Alexis Diaz, like I don't know. These guys, they have the names, but they just have not shown it recently. And then yeah, their bolt or their rotation's not good at all either. Hunter Green's gonna be so good this year, I think.
Yeah.
But after that, like Brady Singer, like the underlying numbers did not like him at all. Nick
Projections
Lodolo,
don't like him at all either, which kind of sucks.
yeah. Lodolo, Martinez, and then like you said, they do have those prospects, but again, like how much can you bank on like a Chase Petty like coming up and
Yeah.
being like a super solid arm? So I don't know, that's where they lack. I think their hitting's gonna propel them to 79 wins and finishing third.
Hmm.
But just not enough to compete with those top two teams. So
I will say I do like I think there's a world where, Green continues to solidify himself as that ace. And then I think Rhett Latter can be the two, to be completely honest with you, by the end of the year. And then if Singer's your three, Lodolo four, I think that is one of the stronger rotations in this division and something you can build on for the future as you continue to try and
yeah.
work out this offense. So I think they're making the right steps. And I don't want to sound too Debbie down on the Reds. And I think they will be a fun team to watch as well.
Yeah.
So, right, recapping the Central, I got the Cubs finishing first with 92 wins, Brewers second at 88, Reds third at 82, Cardinals fourth with 76, and Pirates fifth at 71.
I got Milwaukee first with 88, Cubs second with 86, Reds third with 79, Cardinals fourth with 77, and the Pirates fifth with 72 wins.
We're gonna wrap
And
it up. Oh, one more thing.
yeah, was
Are
it
you?
you or me?
No,
I
you.
was
I thought you said you were about to.
I was
What?
gonna move on.
Oh, okay. I was NOS. You good?
So I got the Dodgers finishing first, believe it or not. I don't know how high you're going with this win total. Um, we are talking like some people have them at 120 wins. I'm gonna say 108, and I feel like that's a little conservative, maybe.
Yeah,
Are you close to that number?
I have him at 113. So yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, would not surprise me at all. Um, Last episode you guys watched it, the American League, I kind of put like a little ranking on the lineup rotation and bullpen of each team, like out of 10. So I did it with the Dodgers. I think this rotation and lineup are 10 out of 10. Like these both could very well be the best rotation and lineup. And like I'll let you talk about the bullpen because you've been keeping up with that
Yep.
a lot more than me, but like this bullpen's also like super, super good. Um let me go through their lineup. It is not fair at all. Like Otani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, Muncy, Will Smith, just picking up like a Michael Conforto just because you got like spare money when like a lot of these teams like would kill for a bat like Michael Conforto is it's just funny to me. Tommy Edman is like this utility guy that's like fast, good defense, switch hitter. Like, dude, they got so much, and it's not fair at all. Andy Pages, I think he's gonna be a good hitter again. He just kind of falls um in the shadows of this Dodgers team, but like he's still a solid bat. And then like even their bench is like solid. Like Austin Barnes is a backup. He was not a good hitter last year, but like I don't know, he's always been in the Dodgers, I feel like. Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez, like whatever, but again, this is their bench. And
Yeah,
then injured. Who they got injured? Let's see.
a lot.
Pitchers, they have a ton of pitchers
Yeah,
injured.
yeah.
And like looking at this rotation, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Snell, Glasnow, and May. Like, do you think there's a better rotation than that? If they're healthy, there's not. I don't think there's any question. Um,
I also think Yamamoto sleeper pick for NL Cy Young this year. I'll
yeah,
say that now.
I don't I think that's fair. And then like they're injured. Once these guys come back, like if one of those guys is lacking, whether it's like Sasaki because he's kind of just starting to kind of feel his way in the MLB, or if it's Dustin May who hasn't pitched much, you have all these guys that are coming back from injury, whether it's like Tony Gonsolin, River Ryan, who I don't think he's gonna come back. He just had in August he had Tommy John, but he was good. Emmett Sheehan, Clayton Kershaw, like Gavin Stone, even like there's
Yeah.
just so many of these guys that are just like super, super good. It's just it's not fair at all. And the bullpen. who they pick up? They picked up Kirby Yates as like just this like end of their offseason thing. Tanner Scott, who they gave I think way too much money for a reliever. He got so much money.
Yeah.
And then Blake Trinan, he's nasty. I'll let you kind of get into the rest, but I will say lastly, like Michael Kopech getting him, I think they've already kind of shown it, but they are gonna completely turn him around to be like
Yeah.
really good seventh or eighth inning guy. So this team's so good. It's not even fair.
Yeah, I don't need to parade the Dodgers much more. We all know the Dodgers. I will say really quickly for the NL West, don't you feel like it's kind of like I feel like there's a pretty clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know about you.
In my mind, yeah, I think so.
So I'll just Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, Rockies, right?
Yeah, that's all I
Like
got.
I think it's kind of hard to make an argument to flip that any other way.
I think Padres Giants potentially, but
Yes, yes.
even then, I still have a 10-win difference between those two, and I said that. So
So yeah, I guess I'll just touch on the bullpen really quick. I think we saw almost everybody in Tokyo. And also shout out Ben Casparius. We talked about him last year at the World Series when he got that spot start in game 4 when the Dodgers were up 3-0. He looks like he has a full spot in the bullpen now, so good for him. That's pretty cool to see. But yeah, so some of the guys I really like to watch, Trinan looks just as good as he did last year, which is really encouraging. The stuff is still there, absolutely. Kirby Yates also looked very impressive still. And the fact that they got him and Tanner Scott, it was one of the first times I kind of sat down and watched a Kirby Yates start or like a relief outing along with the Tanner Scott, and watching their stuff and watching the Cubs try and hit it was just
yeah,
crazy. And crazy that they're both on the same team right now. So yeah, I mean, it just and the fact that I don't want to say the Cubs look bad, but like the Dodgers clearly look like the better team, and that was without Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, which is just like even more crazy. I also want to give a shout Dalton Rushing. I hope they bring him up this year at some point and just find a spot for him. I think I said that a while ago too at some point on the podcast, but he's a very I think he's a top 10 prospect. If not, he's very close, probably top 15. Can play catcher, can play first, can play in the outfield. I really want to see him get at bats, and that'd be a fun guy to bring up towards the end of the season. Maybe if injuries are a thing, or if you
real
just
quick,
want. Yeah,
it being a prospect for the Dodgers, it's not even fair to them. Like, where
yeah.
do you even find like a spot for these guys?
I
Like, are they just you're just almost this sounds terrible, but you're almost hoping like one of these guys gets injured just to give you a chance, or
mhm.
that you get traded because
Yeah,
like Rush, like he's not gonna get that chance no matter how good he is. And like their farm system's always so good, but these guys just have to
yeah.
wait so long or
That's
just
the
to get
other crazy thing is like the Dodgers are probably still like a top 10 farm system right
it's
now, and they're still
insane.
the best team in like the league.
I and yes, they are spending so much money, but I think they're just so smart. Like their front office knows how to push like the right buttons with their prospects and like who to get. So they do just
Absolutely.
a lot of credit.
Yeah, so like I said, 113 wins, first place. There's not much more to say with the Dodgers. Moving on to both of our second place teams, it sound like, are the Arizona Diamondbacks. I have them finishing with 95 wins this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty high, pretty high. But the lineup is everything about it is great. It's not one of those teams, kind of like a Phillies for me, where it's hard to punch a hole into this lineup. It's actually kind of funny looking at their numbers last year. They were second in OPS, and then their starter ERA was 27, ranked 27th, and then the relief pitching ERA was ranked 25th. So pretty
Yeah.
brutal. And
Not this year.
no, yeah. And the fact that they still had 89 wins last year with that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's why kind of my justification for giving them that 6 win bump. The lineup, Corbin Carroll, I know I'm a little higher on him than you are heading into this season, but I think we can both agree he'll be better than what he did last year, regardless of where we think that kind of falls. Ketel Marte should still be really good. Adding Josh Naylor to replace Christian Walker, probably a bit of a downgrade, but I don't think they'll notice it too much. Maybe the defensive side a little bit. Gino Suarez, we had a pretty fun talk with him, or not with him, but about him, about kind of being one of the perennial power threats in the MLB every season. We're both pretty high on Gabby Moreno heading into this season. Pavin Smith, another guy, kind of a platoon bat. Geraldo Perdomo just got extended. I like him quite a bit with the defense, and hopefully that bat can project up a little bit more this season. And then Corbin Burns is the big free agent signing here. Getting an ace here is so
Mm.
incredibly valuable. Burns and Gallen could potentially be one of the best 1-2s in the entire MLB heading into this
Yeah.
season. And then looking at the bullpen, getting AJ Puck last season, I forgot if we talked about it on this podcast, but he had one of the like I think it was 44 innings pitched in like a sub 1 ERA after he got moved last season to finish off the year. He looks really good. That was the trade with Miami. Um, Joe Manzupai even is in here. Justin Martinez is another really good arm. I- Yeah, there's a lot to like with this team. I'm very excited to watch them play. Jordan Lawler is on the prospect side, probably going to get up at some point as well, and hopefully he finds a spot in this lineup because he got ABs all the way back since like the 2023 World Series. So I hope he
Mhm.
finds a consistent spot with this lineup because he could be really good as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to watch Diamondbacks play this year, and I think they're gonna be very, very solid.
I have them also at second, like we said, with 90 wins. So again, a little conservative. Um, and yeah, it is looking at last year's win, it would be like easy to like say like, oh, they should be a lot better than 89 wins, which I think that's fair, but I'm just a little like conservative on all these picks just because there's so many good teams, like I've been saying.
Yeah.
So batting, I really don't have much more to say on this team than you did. I think I completely agree. Top to bottom, I love this team a lot. Um, just yeah, like the names that stand out, like Corbin Carroll, like you said, Ketel Marte, it's super underrated. Um, I wouldn't even say like dark horse MVP candidate. I think he's just an MVP candidate in
Yeah.
itself. Um, Josh Naylor, Suarez, like these guys are gonna match. They got the power, they got the speed, they got some defense with like Pavin Smith, Perdomo, Jake McCarthy. Like they literally have it all. And then like even their bench, like they just picked up Randall Grichuk as their bench bat, who was great last year. I love that as a platoon against lefties.
Yep.
Alec Thomas is like a defensive replacement slash guy that could hit like okay with you next year. I'm totally fine with that. And then like the rotation, I don't know how they were so bad last year. I think the injuries got them a lot. Between like Merrill Kelly, Rodriguez, I think Fat is still like super good.
Even
Um,
Gallen had a bit of off year last year too, and
yeah,
he was battling injury at the same time. So
exactly. Yeah. And then like I've said this before, that Corbin Burns signing is the best offseason move that any team made this offseason. I think it's so good.
yep.
And I'll talk about these guys more when I get in the playoffs because you'll see what I have them kind of doing, but the noise they're making. Their bullpen, they really this is like the only like downfall I think. They lost Seawald. It was Seawald, right? To the I forget who got
Guardians,
the
isn't it?
Guardians, which
Yeah.
is odd. Um I think they could have done more. You pointed to there was a 25th bullpen area last year, 22nd, 25th. Um, I think they should have done more. I think they could have got a ninth inning guy. I don't think they have their closer. AJ Puck's good, but like, has he closed all the games? No. Like, I don't know. I think they need that one like super solid arm, and they could easily just go out there at the deadline and get him. So that's kind of where I'm like, okay, it's okay. Um, and then injured back tightness at the beginning of March it says, but Kendall Graveman, that's gonna be a huge addition. He's a super solid veteran arm, so
Yeah.
when he comes back, it'll help a lot. But that's the only little like tweak I would have with their team. But other than that, super super solid. So
Uh,
next,
yeah. Your turn.
the Padres, I have them with 85 wins and just missing the playoffs. Let's see. So this team, it's got a lot of names that'll like stand out to you, like they're super flashy. And for the right reasons, like these guys have proven it. But just there's a lot of guys that kind of have a thing for like having some down years. Bogarts hasn't been the guy that they thought they'd be, especially with that contract he signed, that massive contract.
Yeah.
Cronenworth hasn't shown what he has in the past. And then they got Gavin Sheets and Jason Hayward. How excited can you be about those guys? Not very. Elias Diaz, I think his numbers were inflated heavily by Colorado. If you look at his baseball savant, they'll agree with that sentiment. But I do like their top of the lineup a lot with Arias, Tatis. Merrill's going to take a huge step forward. Machado's always like that 4 WAR player that plays great defense and will hit 25 to 35 home runs. So um Tatis is still gonna be great. I don't know if you're gonna bring him up, but I still
No,
think
no.
Tatis is a phenomenal player. Um so yeah, that this offense is good and this pitching, another like super solid one too. Is Cease and King. I love that. And then Darvish, who just got injured. Yeah, elbow inflammation like a few
Mm-mm.
days, like a week ago, something like that.
Yep.
Pretty recently. Joe Musgrove had Tommy John at the end of last year. That's gonna hurt them a lot. Matt Waldron, strained oblique. That was recently, but if you put those guys back in here, I think they're competing with the Diamondbacks for second. But without those guys, that hurts a lot. Um, I do like their bullpen a lot. Suarez and Estrada are both like super nasty. Jason Adams, great. Yuki Matsui is a lefty arm, and then also Morhan and Adrian Moore. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Morhan.
Think you're right.
Um, just super solid. Um, yeah, just those injuries to that rotation hurts a lot. Like when you have and they threw a lot of money at Pavetta more than I would have liked them to. Especially with their financial problems that they've had recently. But yeah, their 3 through 5 rotation arms are not looking good with those injuries. So, yeah, 85 wins.
I'm pretty close to where do I have them? 87.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm high on the offense. I think everybody is. The Jose Iglesias and Connor Joe are pretty good signings here for depth because if you didn't get those two guys, I don't really know what that would look like. But even still, like projecting Gavin Sheets and Jason Hayward in the starting lineup is like, ugh, like that's pretty scary in my eyes. Sheets is terrible. He's like a platoon bat, but he's like a bad platoon bat, which is like the missing
Nice.
point. Um, and like Iglesias is good, infield help for sure. And he had a very solid season last year, so we'll see if he can keep that up. Connor Joe, I think, could be okay here as well. Coming over from Pittsburgh, we'll see where he fits in, but that could be an interesting guy to keep an eye on. And then the rotation, Nick Pivetta is a really solid signing here. Because if you don't have a Nick Pivetta here, what does like you were kind of speaking into it, but like the 3 through 5, outside of Cease and King, and now Darvish not starting the season healthy, it'd get really thin really fast. So bringing in Nick Pivetta, I think, is a very good signing. Um, I'm lower on this team because I think Cease is going to be gone at the deadline. It like you were saying with the financial issues they've been having, and it seems like they're wanting to cut payroll, especially with the big contracts they've shelled out to Tatis and Machado and Bogarts. There's just I think they're going to try and get value for them, especially with how depleted their farm system is right now. I just don't see him staying with the team, and that could include Michael King too, where he might go as well. So I'm kind of buying into that them selling off some of their assets, but still being a pretty competitive team. The bullpen is still really good, like you said, and the offense still has the firepower to compete with a lot of the teams in this division. So I have them finishing third. I do have them missing the playoffs though this year, so we'll see how that plays out. Moving on to our both of our first place team, we have the Giants. Um, the Giants are like so I have them finishing at 84 wins, which sounds like it's a lot
Mhm.
higher than where you have them at.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's I don't really even know like what to say. Like I feel like out of all the
We
teams,
don't need to say much about these last 2 teams, honestly.
no, like I'll just point out like Ryan Walker, he's awesome in the bullpen. Camilo Duvall, hopefully he can be better and not get optioned to AAA again this year. Rotation: Logan Webb, Justin Verlander, Robbie Ray. I like quite a bit. Webb, obviously, I like the most, but that's fine. And then Willie Adames and Matt Chapman and Patrick Bailey. And then Ty Fitzgerald could be
Yeah.
interesting. And then you maybe have the potential of Bryce Eldridge getting called up. Um, there's just like I feel like it's just so like mid all over like all across the board. Like there's some things that it's like yeah, you can kind of get excited about, but there's a lot of concerns as well. And I don't see them competing in this division still, which is unfortunate, but I don't think they have enough this
Yeah.
year.
I agree. I love like bringing in Willie Adames on like I think what is a team friendly contract, compared to like what these other teams are shelling out for these players. Between the production between him and Matt Chapman, and then like the defense of Patrick Bailey, like there's some fun areas of this team that can propel them like maybe into the 80 win range. I have them at 75, so I'm a little lower, I guess quite a bit lower than you are, but
Yeah.
um still like this rotation, you're just banking on a lot. I love Logan Webb. We've talked about him so much. I think he's great. No worries about him. He's gonna throw 200 innings at a 3-3 or a 3-2 or something like that. No worries about him. Verlander, if he's healthy, I think he's gonna be great, but that's just way too much of a what if.
Yeah.
Robbie Ray is so up and down. Hasn't he been great in spring?
I'm not really sure,
He's been
but
great,
the
but
projections do like him quite a decent amount for 2025.
like he's like, do you want to look up his stats real quick?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just so like too hard to project for me. Jordan Hicks, he was great last year at the beginning, but he came up as a relief pitcher. I think the innings kind of got to him. So like, how well can he be? What?
I just saw Robbie Ray run a Cy Young in 2021.
Yeah,
That's news to
I
me.
mean, it's just up and down. What was it?
So, oh, he was in Seattle. I didn't know that either. So, so it looks like he's been hurt. Like, the last time he pitched like a full season was 2022 in Seattle, 189 innings at 3.7. He pitched 3 innings in 23 and then 30 innings last year. So I don't
So
really know what.
way too much of a what if. Like
Yeah,
you're banking on a lot with the older arms of Verlander and Ray. And then Hicks, can he like is he built up enough now to go from that relief pitching? Which like last year, like I said, it's just I think the starting pitching just got to be too much for him. Birdsong can be like a decent five potentially. And then like you said with their bullpen, I love Ryan Walker and Tyler Rogers. Tyler Rogers is just fun to watch. Like
yeah,
there's some pictures and he'll like touch the dirt with his sidearm kind of submarine style throw. So Camilo Duvall, like you were talking about all these guys, but just I like I like those guys a lot. Just the rotation just does not excite me very much. And like you said, there's just a lot of mid on their starting lineups. So 75 wins, and now we can get into the Rockies, who they're I don't mind their lineup really at all. Like Brenton Doyle, I think he's so good and very underrated. Great defense. He's fast. He's gonna hit for you a little bit. Ryan McMahon, I think he can hit a decent amount of home runs, but like he's not. These guys aren't gonna have like a super high like OPS or OPS plus, I guess. But because of the cores effect, which I do have a question about that. So I'm not gonna talk too much about these guys.
okay.
I just kind of want to hear your opinion, but Michael Toglia, I think he's like he could hit a lot of home runs and kind of break out even more this year. Chris Bryant, like I don't know, he got that big contract and he just fell off the face of the earth. And then, dude, the rotation in the bullpen, I honestly don't even want to name one name because this it's just so bad. And this kind of gets into my question, like it's so bad, but like you put these players on any other ballpark and are they like average? Like we don't really know.
So I wanted to bring up, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but when you were talking about Cal Quantrill in Miami, he pitched in Colorado last year. And
Yeah.
so I think speaking into that a little bit, he will be better this year in Miami,
Yeah.
100%.
So
Um,
that's kind of where I get into. So my question, or I guess my statement that I'm making, and you can just kind of disagree or agree with it. I think no matter what player you are, a hitter or pitcher, it's a lose-lose situation. And like if you're any type of free agent that's like a star, why would you ever want to go to Colorado? So hitting, you go to Colorado, you don't get any credibility. Like when Arenado was there, he was putting up crazy numbers, and you don't get much credibility until you go to another ballpark and do it.
yeah,
So hitting it like hurts you. And then pitching, what prospect, like Chase Dollander, what prospect would ever want to be
yeah.
in the farm system for the Rockies or what like Corbin Burns or would these guys ever want to sign with the Rockies? Never. Like it hurts your ERA so much and it makes you look so bad.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate how much of a factor the ballpark is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with you on that. It does suck a lot. I'm trying to think, have there been any recent like Colorado pitchers, like homegrown Colorado pitchers that go on to have good seasons? Like recently, I can't really pin one
I
down.
mean, Marquez had a good season in the past, but like,
Yeah.
let me see. That's the only one I can think of. I think he was an all-star. So Marquez was an all-star with the Rockies in 2021, his age 26 season. He had a 4.4 ERA in 180 innings.
See, that was probably like their mandatory one too, because
I
like every
think
team
you're
has
right.
to have
Yeah,
one.
I think you're
So
right. So
even
like,
that is like,
dude, it's so brutal. It's
I
not
also I want to bring up Nolan Jones. What happened to this guy? Uh, 2023, 106 games. He had 20 home runs. Was a 4 F4 player. Last year, only played 80 games and was below replacement value. He had a 70 WRC plus.
really.
Like,
I forgot about that guy. I thought he was just a like still like a prospect, but he did have a
oh, he had a great year. And like he
wow.
only had 3 home runs last year and like only 27 less games.
B
Like
ward minus -0.7. What?
so that could be a name maybe you see. Hope you
Yeah.
bounce back. But it is kind of funny. Like they
You-
had 4 guys hit 20 plus home runs last year, which is like I feel like I wouldn't really think about, but it does make sense because of
Yeah.
just the ballpark. Doyle, McMahon, Tovar, and Toglia are the guys.
Dude, real quick, imagine the Dodgers lineup
Don't
playing
even.
for like
Don't even.
that. What would that even look like?
The Rockies have to have a low budget to combat the ballpark.
Yeah.
Because if they had money to spend and were like one of the teams that were like buyers and such, it'd be tough to keep up with this offense
Yeah.
year out.
It's crazy.
Even looking last year, they were middle of the road in OPS, like exactly 15th, and then both starting and relief pitcher ERA was 30th. So it's
Yeah.
just
It just
it's
every single
brutal.
year, and it
Yeah.
just I do like the unique aspects of ballparks, but I think it's too drastic, and I think Seattle's getting to be that point too.
Mm. That's
Which
fair.
that yeah, I don't know. I think it's too much.
All right. Well, we can wrap up the NL West. I have the Rockies at 65 wins. What did you say you had them at?
59.
50. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was going to put them below the White Sox or not. I don't think I forgot what I had the White Sox at, but I think they were lower than
I had the
65.
Rockies as the worst team. It might just be the anger at the ballpark. So,
So I mean, for both of us, we went Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, Rockies. I'm sure that's a lot of your lists look like as well. Do you have any other thoughts before we move on to our playoff
just
predictions?
a quick thing. You don't have to get into it, but who do you think is going to be the best division, NL East or NL West this year?
West.
West. Okay.
I think the Giants are better than the Giants are better than the Nationals, I think.
I agree. And I think the Marlins and the Rockies kind of cancel each other out.
And the NL East doesn't have the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's true. I
Um,
agree.
yeah. All right, so we'll really quickly run through our playoff bracket and award winners just because it's like award winners, yeah, you could say, but playoff bracket is kind of hard to project right now when it's like could be a completely kind of different team. So just for the first round matchups, I have Cubs, number 3 seeded Cubs versus number 6 Brewers, and number 4 Phillies versus number 5 Diamondbacks. I have the Phillies beating the Diamondbacks, and I have the Cubs beating the Brewers.
That's your wild card, you said?
Yep.
So I also have the Cubs being Milwaukee, and then I have the Diamondbacks being the Braves.
Okay. So then the next round, I have the Dodgers and the Phillies, and I have the Phillies beating the Dodgers. I'm gonna bank on the couple weeks off and that the Phillies are gonna be hot, play some games at the bank, and I think they might do it this year. And then the Braves versus Cubs, I have the Braves beating out the Cubs.
I have the Dodgers being the Cubs, and then I have the Diamondbacks being the Phillies. And then I'll get in the NLCS. I have the D-backs being the Dodgers to make the World Series. Dude, I think, and I'll say this, my NL Cy Young is also Corbin Burns. I think the trio of Burns, Gallen, who, like you said, that could be the best 1-2 in the league.
Yep.
Then Merrill Kelly or Eduardo, whatever combination of the other three guys that are gonna produce, I think that's gonna be too much. And it's just more fun when we don't pick the Dodgers to win. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have Phillies Braves, which I think would be an awesome NLCS, which they've played in the NLCS recently, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yep. So I have that happening again, and I have the Phillies winning it.
Okay.
I really like the rotation. The rotation gets me excited for the postseason. And I did pick them last year when we did our playoff brackets, when we were actually at that point to win the NL, and they did let me down. I'm hoping they don't do it again. So really quick, I want to go back to our AL one. I have Phillies Astros, which is a repeat from a few years ago. Who was your AL winner? The Rangers?
So yeah,
We have
Rangers,
Rangers Diamondbacks, which is,
is that a
yeah, that's what it was 2 years ago.
yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Okay.
So
So
then,
what who we
yeah,
picking?
I think I'm taking the Phillies.
I'm taking the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
I think the
So,
defense is so good.
and that would be alternate too, because the Rangers won originally and the
Hmm.
Astros won originally. So
That's crazy.
there
Yeah.
you go. Those are our predictions. So, and then really quickly, award winners. I'm just gonna fly through mine. MVP, I have Otani. I don't think you'll have a different one.
I do. Maybe
Okay.
it's just voters fatigue.
Fair enough. And then Cy Young, I have Skeens winning the Cy Young this year.
Yeah.
It's
Underground.
hard
I
for
like
me
it.
not to bet on
He's
him.
really this kid is underground with these picks. No, I mean you want to be right, so I
Yeah.
get it.
And then rookie of the year, I think this is the one we're the same on. I do have Dylan Cruz here.
Yeah.
I think he's all around a really, really good player, and I think voters will pick up on that, and he's going to excel in a lot of different areas on the field.
Yeah, so like I said, I also have Dylan Cruz and then Corbin Burns as my NL Cy Young and then NL MVP. I got Kyle Tucker, but if Shohei pitches, like I don't know.
Really? You have Tucker.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker. I know
Wow.
I've been talking about him a little bit, but like, and I didn't like the trade, but I still think yeah, I think he's
Huh.
what?
I just like even if you took away Shohei's pitching, would you say Tucker is going to be a better hitter than Otani this year?
No, probably not. But I
Okay.
voters fatigue. And I
I don't
will
think that's
let me
fine.
ask you this real quick. So Shohei Ohtani, which there's a possibility, but he's still gonna be a good pitcher, I think. But like, let's say he has the same exact hitting season as last year, which was off the charts, like historical. Let's
Yeah.
say even same stolen bases, which I think they're gonna hold off on that a little bit this year. Same hitting and everything. Let's say pitching, let's say he throws 140 innings to a 4.7 ERA. You fault him for the pitching, or do you?
No. No.
Okay,
I think the fact that he's even throwing 140 innings on top of having, if you said like he did have a season like he did last year, I don't think you can say that's a fault.
see, it's not like he's a unicorn, so it's so hard to like talk about this. But
Yeah.
like,
There's nothing to
if
back it.
right, if he's a 4.7 or a 4.8 and he's hurting the team pitching, how can you as a voter like, how can you not fault him for that?
Yeah, but like how much would you fault him? It can't be that much, like realistically.
But most valuable player, like who brings the most value to your team? A 4.7, 4.8 in the Dodgers is hurting your team a lot because you have so
Yeah,
many other
but you're like completely leaving out the 50-50 part of it.
right. Which that's like the question. Like that's why it's so hard.
Now, I think if he does have like that bad of a season pitching wise, I don't if he had a similar season last year hitting, I don't think it would matter.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. It's just interesting. I don't know. And if
Yeah,
he
because
goes 3.7 with 140 innings and he hits anywhere near he did last year, then he's unanimous MVP
100%.
again. Yeah,
I think that's it. Are we done?
I think we're done.
So
Again,
that's
another long episode.
yeah, the NL and the AL covered for the season and right in time too. So that's gonna do it for today. When you see us next week, the season will be underway, which is super exciting. So enjoy all the games, enjoy watching your team get out there and watching all your guys go. It's gonna be really exciting. I know me and Parker are both very, very excited, and I hope you choose to stick along with us for the MLB season. We're really looking forward to it. So thank you so much for tuning in, especially if you made it all the way. We really do appreciate you sticking with us through us another long episode. But yeah, I'm Travis. He's Parker. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.